Hey folks, happy Monday. This request, we're going to be spending the next week learning about the coronavirus. This was the topic that received the highest number of votes, and so that's what we'll be starting with. I might continue this a little bit into next week, but it'll definitely be taking up a full week with this week. Okay, so first things first, our target today is to identify what the coronavirus is and where and how it is formed. So you guys asked a lot of really good questions in the warm-up that I posted on Friday. And what I'll be basically doing over the course of this week and maybe next is just kind of answering those questions one at a time. But actually, though, you really did ask some really good and diverse questions. It really tested my knowledge and made me do a lot of researching, which is really good. So these are most of the questions that I'll be answering in the video today. We're basically focusing on the origins of the coronavirus and talking a little bit about what we can do about it. Okay, so first things first, I think context is really important. We know what the coronavirus is. It's a virus that makes people sick and can kill people if they have a low immune system. But I think something that's really important to recognize is how does COVID compare to other viruses? Influenza is basically the flu. And I read a lot of articles online that said influenza is actually a bigger deal than coronavirus. And I thought that was really interesting. So I checked it out. And what the articles were basically saying was 30 to 60,000 people die each year from the flu, from influenza. Some years it's less, some years it's more. As of last Friday, May 15th, 330,000 people have died from COVID. The biggest differences between the flu and COVID, the flu has a vaccine. COVID, there is no vaccine and is unlikely to be a vaccine for the next foreseeable year-ish. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Which of these is a bigger deal? I'm gonna just kind of post that right now. Which of these, just face value, seems like it's a bigger deal, and then we'll go into it and have a little bit more information. Okay, so now that you guys have had time to think about it, just thinking, which seems like a bigger deal, let's talk a little bit about vaccines. Firstly, the main type of vaccine is effectively a very weak or dead strain of a virus. So with the flu, basically what a vaccine is it's a dead version of that virus or a weak version of that virus that you inject into somebody, and that allows the body's autoimmune system, their immediate immune system, to react to that weak version of the virus, beat it, and effectively learn from it, getting stronger from it. And so the vaccine gives your body a weak version of the virus for you to fight off, so that when the actual virus comes along, your body is strong enough to fight off the actual virus. You may be asking yourselves, okay, so if the flu has a vaccine, why are 30 to 60,000 people dying? Well, there's kind of two camps on that. Not everybody can get vaccines. So women that are pregnant can't because of their babies, as well as elderly people cannot get vaccines because they are old and their bodies may not be able to handle the weak version of the virus. The other big camp is some people choose not to get vaccinated. So some people hear the words weak version of the virus going into my body, and that really freaks them out. This is not something that people should be concerned about, and yet there is a very large group of people that do not get vaccinations, that do not vaccinate their children because they're worried that they're going to hurt them, and this is not true. It is very false. It has caused a lot of hurt and pain because people who can get vaccinated don't. So now I'll ask you guys the question that I was just answering. What is a vaccine? In your own words, go ahead. What's a vaccine? Okay. And just as a way to fact check yourself, a vaccine is a weak or dead version of the main virus. Okay. And because COVID is a relatively new virus, We haven't been able to build a vaccine. We haven't been able to create a weaker strain or a dead strain of the coronavirus to give people, and we won't for a while. Okay. Great question that a couple of students asked on Friday. What's the big deal? After all, there are other viruses. You're right. There are other viruses. In fact, you've probably had one. Every single one of you has probably at some point in your life gotten the common cold. The common cold is just a umbrella term that we use to describe a particular type of virus. I've had it, you've had it, we'll get it again. The common cold is a fairly unique virus in that there are so many different kinds of the common cold, and it mutates so much that you're probably going to get multiple versions of the virus over the course of your life. One theory that was actually proposed was to have everybody, frankly, go into quarantine, because that would prevent the common cold from being able to go to news sources and then mutating. That obviously never happened just because it's incredibly expensive. Okay. So what is the big deal? Why is COVID considered to be worse than the common cold in some people's eyes? Basically, COVID happened really, really quickly. So this is in part due to the nature of the virus itself and how it spreads. You don't know if you got the virus. You could have it right now. I could have it right now. You know, you could pick it up from just going to the grocery store and not know for a full 14 days. So 14 days could pass where you're interacting with other people, not realizing that you have the coronavirus and you are giving them the coronavirus as well. And so this has allowed the coronavirus to spread very quickly because it's hard to detect. Unless you do a test, you don't really know. And testing is fairly limited because they're making them as fast as they can, but there's 7 billion people in the world. The second main reason is because of how China responded to the outbreak, which we'll be getting to in a little bit. But the coronavirus did originate in the Wuhan district in China. There's a lot of evidence to support it, and part of the problem is that the Chinese government tried to cover up the coronavirus. There were several scientists in the Wuhan district that found the coronavirus early and made postings about it on their social media pages, and those social media pages were shut down by the Chinese government because the Chinese government wanted to handle it in China. They were okay accepting the fact that there was going to be an epidemic, that China was going to have to deal with it, but they didn't want the world to realize that China was weak. And so they didn't allow the spread of information to flow, and this allowed the virus to flow. This is not an attack on China. This is simply stating facts. This is definitely something that China did, and I have sources to prove it. Okay. Then we can kind of break up the last couple of reasons into why this coronavirus is such a big deal. For starters, it's really scary. You don't really know if you have it. There's a lot of uncertainty that goes with it. No one is really immune until you get the virus. So literally anyone can get this virus. Me, you, your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, everyone can get it. No one's immune that we know of. Secondly, you don't really know if you have it or not, so it's very easy to spread. Thirdly, if you get it and you are in need of certain medical resources, there is not a guarantee that you are going to get those medical resources because they are in limited supply. I should paraphrase that a little bit. You are guaranteed to get the medical resources because you are young. However, elderly people are not, because they are older and closer to dying and less likely to make a recovery. But if you got really, really sick, statistically speaking, odds are really good that you would heal if you were in need of medical attention. Okay. Is this virus man-made or not? Who created it? No, it was definitely made by nature. We know this for a fact. Viruses are related, right? So the coronavirus, its parent virus was called SARS-CoV or something like that, or the SARS virus. And basically, COVID is not as good at binding to the human cells as SARS is. And so if this was actually made in a lab by some madman out there, they didn't do a very good job, because it's worse than the SARS. It's worse at killing people than the SARS virus was. So additionally, there are a lot of other viruses that COVID is related to. However, none of these viruses are really harmful. They don't make people sick, or they don't make people very sick. But if a scientist was going to genetically engineer a deadly virus, they would use a virus that was already deadly, or at least would make people sick. So that effectively rules out the fact that it is man-made. It's definitely made by nature. There's more reasons that we know. Hang on, let me go back to this slide real quick. There's more reasons that we know COVID was definitely made by nature. The things that happened in between SARS-CoV and COVID were jumps that we scientists simply cannot make. We're not even close. Nature is the best scientist in the universe, hands down. Nature can do things in chemistry that we as scientists in labs could never hope to do. Chemical compounds, chemical reactions, the speed, the yield that nature is able to produce is something that we just can't compete with. And creating something like COVID, frankly, is outside the realm of possibility of a human scientist. Okay. Okay, well, setting that aside, the fact that maybe someone was really, really smart, right? Maybe my friend, actually, Greg Trahan, who you guys saw a picture of on day one. I should have posted a picture in this as well. I can still do that. Greg actually works with viruses. He's trying to use viruses to kill a disease, which is very interesting. He's genetically modifying this virus. However, this is not what was happening with COVID, because COVID really doesn't have any clinical practicality. It's not going to be useful at killing other diseases or other viruses. Okay. How exactly did nature do it, since we know that nature did? We don't 100% know quite yet. There's still a lot of testing that is being done and needs to be done before we can certainly say how it happened. But what we think happened was the virus originated with bats. The bats transferred the virus to these pangolins, which is a small little kind of armadillo animal, is the best way to describe it. And then from the pangolins, it then moved on to people. And this all happened in Wuhan, China. What we don't know yet is, at what point did the virus become deadly? Did it become deadly after it started infecting people, or did it become deadly prior to infecting people? And that's where the research really needs to be done in order to figure that out. This is really useful data, because once we have figured it out, we will know what we can expect from this virus. How much does it mutate? Is it going to mutate more? And it gives us a lot of predictability with what the virus is going to do, so we can basically be one move ahead of it. Here are some of the sources that I use to find the information. You guys honestly have more biology than I do. Like, actually, though, the last biology class I took was in 10th grade, and you guys took it more recently, so you frankly know more bio than I do. So everything that I'll be teaching you this week is stuff that I am learning as I'm going. So if you have more questions, certainly feel free to send them my way. Just know I won't get to them immediately, because I may not know the answer. These are some really cool links that basically prove and support the information that I just taught you. They're all basically saying the same thing, so I would not recommend reading all of them. However, if there's one that kind of piques your interest, you're welcome to check that website out and read for yourself firsthand from the actual scientists where this information is coming from. Cool. I'll be sending out an email with information about what we'll be doing this week. Hope you guys have a great Monday. Okay, bye.